You may be seated. Can you hear me? Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Now that we have a mic, we are going to start on page 103 with Birkot HaShachar. Okay, about a year ago, I received a book in Hebrew from Tamar Fishman. Thank you, Tamar. And I said, one more book. It's going to wait in my table night for a while until I finish the pile that is waiting there for me. But not. I read the name of the author and the introduction of the book, and suddenly I had passed half of the book in some hours. It is the last book Amos Oz wrote. Amos Oz was one of the greatest Israeli authors, and he passed away 2 days ago. And his writings were translated to 45 languages. And he was incredible, and without his political views, Israel wouldn't be what is Israel nowadays. And I'm not in favor of speaking about politics, so I'm not going to speak about politics. But this last book was reviewed a month ago in the Washington Post, and he tells a story about his grandmother that I wanted to share with you. The book is called Shalom LaKanaim, so it's translated as Dear Zealots. It's a compilation of different writings he did in the past. So his grandmother spoke about the difference between Christians and Jews. Christians, she said, believe the Messiah was already here and one day will return. We Jews believe the Messiah has not arrived and one day will come. These arguments, said Amos Oz's grandma, brought a lot of tragedies, hate, persecutions, inquisitions, mass murderers, etc. Why, she asked, why should we agree, Jews and Christians, shouldn't we agree, Jews and Christians, and wait, patiently wait, and see what happens? If the Messiah will come one day and say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, I'm happy to see you again, we Jews will have to say the Christians were right. If the Messiah comes and says, how do you do? It's a pleasure to meet you. The Christians will have to acknowledge we Jews were right. Meanwhile, why can't we live in peace and let others live in peace as well? I hope this beautiful anecdote honors both his grandmother and Amos' memory. In today's parsha, not the Messiah, but the Savior, Moses, is born. Moshe, the one who is going to save Israel. It includes this just first parsha of the Torah, includes the first 80 years of Moses' life, of Moses' story. 40 years in Egypt that he spent in the palace, and 40 years in Midian, back to Egypt to speak with Pharaoh. 5 chapters, not much information, so the Midrash will take care of filling all the blanks in the story. That's what the Midrash does. When there's something that we don't know, the Midrash jumps in and tells us the things that we don't know. For example, what was Moses' name? Yes? What was Moses' name? No. Moshe was the name that Pharaoh's daughter gave him. What was the name that his mother, Yocheved, gave him? He was born, he had a bris, 8 days, he was 3 months with the parents, and then Miriam puts him in a basket. Remember that story? Yes. So the Midrash is going to fill that gap. Now you are curious now? Yeah, okay. So there are 10 different opinions. Apparently, the Midrash concludes that the name that was chosen was Tubia or Tobias. Okay, but that's just an anecdote. But in the text, we hear for the first time the famous phrase that Moses repeats to Pharaoh several times. What's the phrase that Moses repeats to Pharaoh? In Hebrew, Shlach et ami. In English is, let my people go. The first verse of chapter 5 includes the words Shalach et ami, let my people go. We are used to hear that phrase, and I am sorry to disappoint you today, but I want to tell you that that phrase is like most of the passes of the QB of the Redskins. Incomplete. Okay? I'm sorry, I had to bring that to the table. But, that phrase is incomplete. If you check, and you can check it by yourself if you want, but the phrase says, let my people go to serve me in the desert. Shalach et ami, in this case, vayachogu li bamidbar, or vayavdu li, or vayavdu li bamidbar. Okay? There is a purpose on going out. Going out for the sake of going out does not make sense. Does not give sense to our lives. There is a mission to accomplish after going out. There is a purpose after going out. There is a goal to be achieved in that going. Otherwise, why should we go out? Why should we go out? So let's go over for a second what happened when Moses goes out for the first time as an adult. In chapter 2, verse 11. If you want to follow, go and check. It is on the bottom of page 323. I will not be offended if you double check what I'm going to tell you. So he says, and I'm going to read it just in case, bottom of 323 in the larger books, it says like this. Verse 11. Vayehi vayamim haem, vayigdal Moshe, vayetze el Echav. And it was after some time, Moses had grown up, and he went out, el Echav, to his brothers, it's translated to his kinfolk. And I ask you, who were his brothers? Who are his brothers? Are the Egyptians or the Jews? And at the end of the verse, we see that Moses identified himself with the Israelites, with those who were beaten. It says, Bayar besiblotam, bayar ish mitzri, makei shibri me'echav. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. Then he says, Baifen kobacho, bayar kien ish. He turned this way and that way, seeing that no one about. There's no ish, there's no person. Bayach et amitzri, ba'itmeneu bachol. He struck down the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. Ish mitzri, in the previous verse, a Mitzri, an Egyptian person, and Ish Ivri, an Israelite person. None of them were great people. Vayar kien ish. He saw they were not people. They were not good people. Vayach et Mitzri, not et ish Mitzri, not the person, Egyptian person, but just the Egyptian. And then it says, Vayetze vayom hasheni. He went out then the next day. And there are still people hitting each other. Vayetze vayom hasheni, beine shnei anashim ivrim nitzim. He went out on the second day, and he found two Hebrews fighting. Now, he needs to escape. He's not ready for this yet. He understands he needs to mature, and he cannot be the judge. He will be in the future. But Moses went out with a purpose. Let my people go. What do you want to build? What is the intensity you want to bring when you go out? How do you complete the second part of the verse that says, let my people go? There is a mission to accomplish after going out. Amos' grandmother suggested to wait and see until the Messiah comes. Meanwhile, let's treat each other with respect. I would like to say, let's go out with a purpose, with a mission in life, and maybe, who knows, as we go out, we will find the Messiah coming towards us. Shabbat Shalom.